Good morning and welcome to Ask the Accountant, episode number 89 of all numbers. You're joining me live with Mr. Aaron Patrick. We are at the Brandon Hall Hotel near Coventry. We've been having a busy weekend, not very many hours sleep. And unfortunately, that's not because we've been partying all night, every night. It turns out attending the F1 is hard work. Like, there's a lot of good things that go on in the F1. No, I'm not on mute. Have we got audio?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, welcome as always to all of our viewers and listeners. We are at Brandon Hall. So, we were at the F1 all weekend at Silverstone watching Hamilton win his first victory since 2021, which was a fantastic achievement. We've got loads of great topics as always. Today's episode is, as the last few weeks has been, sponsored by Apron. We'll talk more about them later on. But yeah, Aaron, what a weekend. I mean, we've had every type of rain going, right?
We certainly have. Before do you want to mute when I'm? Yeah, cool. We're working this one out. We're in the same proximity, everyone. In fact, actually, before I go any further, if everyone can do a bit of a check for us, a tech check, just to make sure you can hear us okay. Videos now come on, Natasha, but thank you for that one. And go from there. But what a weekend. What a weekend. Yeah, I mean, this is, I think more importantly, we need to find your experience of it, and I'll go through mine. But you've got to admit that was some show that was put on.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm using a ultra human health tracking ring at the moment. It is screaming at me, to say the least. So I think I've averaged 4 hours of sleep since Friday a night. And on top of that, I've done like 12,000, 13, 14, 15,000 steps a day. So I am going to get home tonight and my body is going to collapse in shock. But what a weekend. It's very festival-like. Like, you think you're going for the F1, you think you're going for a race, but actually the whole event is very, very festival-like. And actually it's a festival with a race involved. And watching the F3 and the F2 was incredible. My wife turned around to me and said, actually, we think we might have to start watching the F3 more, because she likes the design of those cars. So, you know, if people were going to these events and coming away and it's building an audience for the lower domains of Formula racing, like the F3s and the F2s, then I think that's a great result. Yeah, incredible event. It's hard to just sum up in words how good an event it is. I'd say there needs to be more work with their organisation and their logistics. Trying to get out last night was horrific. The location is a nightmare because it's just on a small country lane. Like, it's not got the infrastructure it needs. But as a whole, I mean, we know Marcus from Bright Manager, who left Bright Manager recently, was there, and he and his wife were camping, and he was saying to me he's had such a brilliant time with camping and stuff, even with the adverse weather. I mean, we've had ponchos, we've had our coats, we've had gilets, we've had umbrellas. I mean, we got through a few umbrellas with the weather conditions. But it was all worth it, wasn't it? Like, we got to sit there and watch Hamilton win his first race in years. We got to see Lando Norris. We got to see Max Verstappen nearly beach his car, and the whole crowd cheer. Like, I've never come across anyone that's that disliked as a driver, but he's achieved it. That's quite an achievement. But yeah, it was just all like, one of the things I always think about football is, how do people get so irate about their football and so anti other teams, and that this is the only team you can support, and you're wrong in life and everything you do if you don't support my team. Whereas, and you know, where everyone has to be kept separate and the policing and stuff. Whereas F1, every single kind of team was represented there. Like, and it was just so community driven. Like, everyone was chatting, everyone was friendly. Yeah, what an event. I mean, yeah, blown away. The wife and I are already looking at different weekends in different countries, maybe that have got better connections and ability to get to and from the event without walking for 5 miles across fields. But yeah, incredible event. Really enjoyed it. I mean, Ash and I even had Engager t-shirts printed for this very purpose. So we've got our Engager t-shirt with our partners and sponsors on each sleeve, F1 inspired, which was great fun. But yeah, I mean, your second time going, Aaron, how was it? What were your thoughts this year versus last?
I think this year for me was an opportunity to do more than just the track, because I did exactly what you did first time, and we did for the first 2 days, right, where we just sat at Cops Corner and we watched every little bit that went on that first track, because that's what we're there for, right? Like, that's what we enjoy. But as you said there's so much more that you can do. There's so much more that you can be involved in. So day one, I was lucky enough to go to the hospitality area. So I got to go into the inner track with QuickBooks, and that was an amazing experience. Like, just seeing the guys from QuickBooks and seeing the people there. So shout out to everyone who was there on that Friday. It was a really great event. Hospitality is completely different. I'm not 100% sure that that's how I enjoy watching the racing, if I'm completely honest, but the experience, the showing off behind the scenes, all that sort of stuff was absolutely amazing. So can't thank QuickBooks enough for bringing us there. Then after that, we kind of got to experience Hamilton Straight. So I got to sit on the grandstand and watch that bit there for a few minutes. That was absolutely amazing. Wife and Ash, they spent all day looking over at that bit. It was fantastic. Got to go see the festival area. So there's a whole main stage, and there was all this bit there. I think what I've learned is that, like you've already mentioned, it is a whole experience, right? It's a whole festival. There's so much to do. For anyone who's into their social media food, there was the Spud Man was there, so he was selling all his spuds, and we got to queue up and just experience that. Get on his TikTok live, and just see what the hype was about. It was brilliant. There was a football there as well. If you look on Instagram, there's images of Lewis and George watching the football on the main stage with the people on the main stage. Like, they're the sort of experiences that you're always going to remember. And thankfully, we got a good result out of it. So, it's always going to be a good memory. If that was a bad result, I don't think that would that would be quite dampen it. But yeah, it was brilliant. The race itself was absolutely fantastic. Couldn't ask for anything better. Changeable weather conditions, some really clever pit strategies going ahead. Some dismay as George Russell just didn't finish the race when he was in contention. Piastri being left out too long. Just all those sort of bits. And I think the one question you asked me at the very beginning last year was, what do you prefer? Well, not what do you prefer, but what's it like compared to TV? So what was your opinion of TV versus live?
So it is different. I don't feel you get as much insights, but we actually went out and got those ear radios that you can get. So we did have live commentary. If we didn't have that live commentary coming in through our radios, we wouldn't have really known what was going on. Whilst they do have it on the big screen, so you can see it from all the angles, so you kind of see what the TV people can see. You can't hear the driver's radios, but you can see that they're playing them. And you can't. Yeah, there's just not the analytics behind it. Even on the radio coverage, they weren't doing the replays as much and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're going to go, you definitely need the earpiece to get the commentary to understand the bigger picture of things. But yeah, I mean, just fantastic event. I don't think I'd ever end up going to them all or anything, or try to do them all in one year, but we've been. It was incredible. And we're looking at some of options to do more city-based ones or something maybe in the future. But yeah, I mean, if you ever get the opportunity, definitely worth, even if you don't go for the whole weekend like we did, if you just go for the day, that race day, definitely worth it. Yeah, really good.
Agree more. The race was absolutely, yeah. And we couldn't have asked for a better race, I don't think. I think, obviously, we've not said it yet, but Lewis winning was just, like, that is just a moment I'll cherish forever, right? Like, getting to see him.
I mean, there's a reason your voice is husky.
Yeah.
Because you didn't stop
exactly.
cheering.
Yeah.
And
Every
etc.
lap.
You've ruined your voice for it. But
yeah, it was brilliant. So let's make sure we include everyone who's here on the. I know you can't see it, but I'll shout it out.
I'm looking at a webcam. I've not got a
But
screen.
first of all, Natasha says good morning.
Good morning, Natasha.
Dave says good morning, all.
And Natasha, how was you went to go and watch someone Kaiser Chiefs at Lincoln Castle, I believe?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So yeah, how was that?
Dave says good morning.
Morning, Dave.
Kirsty says good morning.
Good morning, Kirsty.
Natasha said originally there was no video, but we've sorted that.
Cool, all sorted.
Kirsty says, look at you two with your handheld mics like F1.
Well, these are new microphones that Aaron's been playing with. Aaron, you got exclusive access to these a couple of weeks before they were available to be sold in the UK, didn't you? So
yeah,
they're very nice microphones. Like I think they're picking up sound. We'll find out later. But yeah, like comfortable to hold and stuff. So yeah, really good bit of kit.
It's like you've already read the comments. Jodie says, sounds good.
Excellent.
Clive Hand says, sound and video is good. Sounds like a well-enjoyed weekend.
It was.
And I think he's figured out his name. He's Clive Hand, the QuickBooks accountant, which we like, with a little wave emoji. So good work on that one. Natasha says, all working now.
Excellent. It's always the risk, isn't it, when we're doing these little pop-ups? Like, we try to minimize our kit as much as possible. So we're literally running on a MacBook Air, 2 Rode mics, a receiver for the Rode mics, and I'm talking to you through the Osmo Pocket 3 camera, which is the most minimal podcast setup we've ever tried to do. So it's always a bit risky trying to make this stuff work.
Sue says, good morning, with an F1 emoji, Ferrari one. Maybe that means she's a Ferrari supporter.
Didn't do well this weekend, did they? Bless them.
But it's nice that Sue turned up on time today. So, kudos.
Which is more than the Ferraris normally do.
Paul W says, morning, guys. Good morning, Paul. Michael MLS says, take it easy on football team sporting. Yeah, this is not the first time you've had someone tell you off football team supporting this weekend, was it? What about Paul Liverpool?
I mean, I might have referred to Liverpool in a less than positive light, but I don't know. I think you don't ever see headlines of F1 violence and etc. Like, I know it's a minority, but when a sport is so well revered in society, it can't afford for that minority to be giving a negative impact. Like F1, I just think they nail. Yes, we've all got our favourites, but we're all there to admire the sport, the skill, the talent, and it's just really, really friendly festival-like atmosphere. I know. I keep going back to that term of festival, but it really is like that, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I've never had a bad game of football, but yeah, there's definitely there's a perception, isn't there?
Yeah.
I love watching any moto. Love watching my MotoGP at Silverstone, says Natasha. I can imagine the MotoGP is fantastic. On the same level. Yeah, it'd be amazing. Kirsty says, wow, amazing in a circle looking at the grid wall yesterday and then celeb spotting, including Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt wasn't only there, but he was racing in some car with cameras all attached to it. Because keep an eye and actually go and do a Google to everyone and have a look at the trailer for the new F1 movie with Brad Pitt, because we may be in it. So yeah, they were using that Silverstone day as one of the parts of the storyline. He was driving around, he was involved in pit crews and all that sort of stuff. Really, really cool experience. So yeah, it was that's what it's about, right? Seeing all those celebs and everything. It's cool.
Yeah, and the advert that got released this weekend in line with Silverstone for that movie looks fantastic. Like, that's going to be, because it's an Apple production, so that's going to be a fantastic. That's going to be their big push next year. Next summer, it'll all be about that on Apple TV.
And Natasha said they were awesome. I assume that was the England team. maybe.
No, that'll be the Kaiser Chiefs.
Oh,
at
right,
Lincoln
of course
Castle.
it was. Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, no, glad you enjoyed it. Off to the Killers tonight, so yeah, I'm fully aware. Natasha says that film looks great. Sorry, Kirsty says that film looks great. I'll be watching. Ford vs Ferrari is one of my favorites. Yeah, that's a quality
great
film as
film.
well. And then thank you, Kirsty, for sticking the link in for that film, because everyone should go and have a watch. Maybe not now. Maybe give yourself
Wait for us to finish, right?
50 minutes. And yes, please, says Kirsty. Cool. Right, what's our first topic then? Because we are here to talk about the world of accountancy.
We are.
And sponsored by the wonderful people at Apron. So take it away.
First of all, we want to revisit an article or topic we discussed last week. So last week, ahead of some of our other podcasters and news review sites, etc., we went and covered the news about Pixie being sold. We'd known about it for a while, but last week we weren't able to tell you who'd brought them. And technically, we still know in the public domain as such, unless you do some digging and sleuthing. But something caught my eye on the Pixie website later last week, and once I gave that granular bit of information to Detective Patrick over here, that was it. He was off to company's house and down a rabbit warren. So we now know that Pixie, which Kelso, the founder, left last weekend, has been sold to a Canadian and Australian partnership who are currently responsible for delivering the Successful Bookkeeper. It's a mentoring coaching program / podcast over in Canada. So it's quite an interesting angle that they've decided to branch into. From what our understanding is, this is their potentially first software acquisition. But yeah, so I was on the Pixie website, as I do. Whenever there's a change like that, I go and have a look at the Pixie website. Have they updated anything, etc.? And when I got down to the bottom footer, it had changed from Use Pixie Limited to Pixie International or something like that. So dropped Aaron that little line and said, "Oh, have you seen this?" And that was it. You were off, weren't you, Detective Clouseau? And what did you find out?
So we've seen a couple. I've been doing exactly the same for all of acquisitions lately. So, if anyone wants to go look at Lightyear, for example, and you can kind of see what you tend to see when some big corporation comes and swallows up one of our favorite software providers, and because it's a sensitive topic for us all, right? We've all seen good and bad situations of where people get acquired and what's that like for the end user, and we all want to be a little bit we want to get as much information as we can. Interestingly, from this one though, was the old companies now but by the sounds of it, not being used, so it's that's gone, so not a gobble up as such, which is what we tend to see.
It's not it doesn't look like a share acquisition, does it? It looks like an asset purchase.
Exactly. Yeah, which is it's interesting. I mean, that you could read into a lot into that one. I don't think it's right to do that now. I think we need to wait for the right, wait.
We could speculate all sorts based on that, but also just because it is a certain type of asset, it's an asset purchase in this case. Now, there's a lot of times when that is a primary choice for various reasons that aren't always positive, but also actually there's lots of reasons why you would do that anyway, for different personal circumstances, different plans, different ideas of how they want to move forwards with it. So yeah, lots of speculation could be had, but we will be good and we'll move on.
Yeah, because I think it's unfair, isn't it, at this point? But the initial shareholdings of the new company, so the new Pixie, is the Successful Bookkeeper Global Inc., which definitely was not what we had heard on the rumor mill. I think that was our first initial okay, this isn't what we were told, right?
I think that's what we heard a rumor. So we heard a rumor in February that they were looking to sell.
Mm-hmm.
We heard a rumor at Accountex that they'd sold in May, and we heard a rumor of who brought them. But we didn't want to report on that until we were able to fact check it. And then last week, it was public knowledge that they'd sold, so we were happy to report on that bit, but we still weren't happy to report on the who brought it bit, because that was still speculation, and thank goodness we didn't. But also, I think because it wasn't what we thought and expected, I think that's why we were both a bit more intrigued to do a bit more digging on that front. So yeah, it's all fact checked and verified at Company's House. So carry on.
So we have a Peter George, Australian nationality, as one of the directors, and a Michael Walter John, Canadian, as another director. And if you look at those two, when you look at the company, the successful Bookkeeper Global Inc. Limited, I'm making this very, very simplified, but they are podcasters in the podcasting world. I think you found they do more than that, don't they? They've run some.
Yeah, it looks like podcasting is like their lead generator to get to get coaching and mentoring, and that's a fairly standard practice in any country. Like, if you look at people like the Six Figure Bookkeepers, they've got a podcast that helps generate paying coaching and mentoring clients for them. If you look at Reza Huda, he's got a podcast, and that leads to paying mentoring coaching programs that people sign up to. So that's fairly standard practice and normal. I have a couple of years ago, maybe, I had listened to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast, because there's not a lot of, I mean, especially 2-3 years ago, there's very little in that space for podcasting. It was very good, but it was very Canadian American focused, which that's where they are. That's fine. That makes sense. But it meant
one's Australian, so
yeah. But basically, it meant the content. It was a lot of technical content back then, which meant it wasn't really relevant for the UK. Which meant I didn't stay on listening to it and becoming a fan of it as such. But yeah, like it's just what's the angle with the software? That's what's interesting me here.
Yeah. We don't know their caliber, do we? From what we can tell, we don't think they've got any other software. Maybe they do. Maybe it's like, you've got to go more into the deeps. And we don't listen to their podcasts on a frequent basis, right? So maybe and let's be honest, like Pixie aren't going to sell to people who don't know what they're doing. So we're confident that these people, they're going to have good intentions. But, your expectation at this point from the likes of Pixie, who, let's face it, brought something new to the practice management world. Again, my opinion is it's not a practice management solution, but we can talk about that till the cows come home. But their approach of task management, their way of doing task management, they were one of the first ones to bring things like emails into it, right? Like, and they were put a big reliance on emails being brought into your practice management, task management solution. Your expectation is that they've built this software, this credible software at this point, and you're going to sell it to a big corporation for a lot of money, right? That's the dream, right? Not for every software out there, but that is, like, for a lot of software, that's the dream, isn't it? Like, you go out there, you build something, you sell it, and everyone's happy. I can't imagine this would have sold for a massive amount, because it's not a big corporation buying it, right? Like, maybe we're wrong. Maybe they've, borrowed a load of money and they've put it into here and all this, but it doesn't feel like that's what happened. And this is definitely not a let's acquire it and then let's bring it into another big solution, like, into a bigger ecosystem. This is definitely, they've acquired it. They've obviously got plans for it, but they've not told us what those plans are yet. But this isn't an acquire to bring into a bigger ecosystem. This is an acquire to something else, isn't it? I think that's quite new in our industry. We've not really had that before, had we?
No, I mean, as you know, I deal with a lot of acquisition kind of work for various clients that are buying and selling and stuff in my accounting firm, and you'd see all sorts of reasons and side steps into different segments and industries and stuff. So I think the accounting and bookkeeping software space and industry as a whole is quite tainted by recent acquisitions of the big boys swooping in and venture capitalists swooping in. So HG Capital and stuff like that, landing a lump sum of money to buy a software up into their group and then doing what they do with it. So I think and I speak to a lot of client engager users or engager.app users before Ash tells me off about that and their concerns around engager.app being sold in the future and stuff. And I have to say, like, that's just one acquisition model. What about management buyout? What about a cooperative community style buyout? You know, there's so many options out there that if it works for you and that software, then we need to do that. And we need to be more aware that there's not just one route of acquisition in the software world. So yeah, I think potentially people will be confused and interested by this, but in any other industry, multiple reasoning behind acquisitions and mergers and stuff is absolutely normal standard practice. We just haven't seen it very much. We've only seen one type in recent months and years.
And I just feel like there's a reason that it's normally that way, right? Like normally it's about, if you're going to go for the positivity around it, it's like said software gets acquired by another group, that software gets incorporated in that ecosystem, everyone's supposed to benefit, right? I know we don't get that very often, or it's not the complete norm, but that's what that's what you want to happen, don't you? You want it to be acquired by a group, come in there, like new features get added, new, pricing points, that's what you expect to happen as the end user. Yeah. In this case, it just feels like the person who's got all of the ideas of this software is now vacated. That's a red flag, isn't it? In terms of, if you are a current user, you've obviously bought into those ideas and that's what's drawn you there. Now, some other people have come in to pretty much, I assume, just do the same. Like I can't imagine this is going to be a Pixie 3.0 scenario. Like we're already at 2.0, right? But I would imagine this is more of a, there's Pixie. Maybe we'll have a 2.5. Maybe, they're going to bring their own ideas to it, and maybe they're going to bring their. But I can't imagine it's going to go right tomorrow. We're going to start doing accounts production in it. Do you know what I mean? Like it would never have happened. But that if another group had bought it, they already had accounts production. That's the sort of excitement the end users could have got, right? I feel like this one's going to be a bit more of a, okay, they've bought it. Probably they're going to steady the ship first of all, make sure that the current users are happy. I feel like as a user of Pixie, you've still got to be a little bit wary here because you don't know who those people are, but it's a bit more unknown in my eyes. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that want to get into the software world, and there's a few different routes. And even those that are in the software world that then want to offer something new to their users, maybe they've heard feedback that we're really struggling with this in our practice, and they're like, how can we solve that for you? Well, we can either build it from scratch ourselves, partner with someone that does it, maybe white label it, or we can buy it in and own it and push it out. So it might well be that these two gentlemen have brought Pixie because they've heard time and time again in Canada and Australia, which from my research, limited as it is, its practice management software is underserved and firms are underutilized. It's underutilized and practices are underserved in those spaces, in those countries. So maybe they've heard from all of their members and all their listeners, we're really struggling with this. And they've gone, well, we can either build it from scratch to help you, we can partner with someone to help you, or we can buy something to help you. Yeah. And maybe they saw the Pixie opportunity and went for it. And they've got big plans to roll it in. Maybe they've got big plans to roll it in Canada and Australia to serve those what are currently underserved markets. Like the UK forgets how lucky we are with innovation and technology in practice management space. We have got so many options, whereas in other countries, those options just aren't there. In like maybe you've got 1, 2, or 3 players, and that is it. You haven't got big players right through to small players like we have in the UK. So, maybe that's their angle. They've decided, right, we're hearing the pain point. We're going to try and solve that pain point. We've got 3 options. We either partner with someone. At which point is that going to get us the prioritization and development stuff we want? We build it from scratch. That takes time and money. Or we acquire someone. And we acquire the technology as a foundation that then pushes us forwards. So maybe option 3 is what they've gone for. But yeah, we don't know, and we don't know what the impact on the UK is going to be of this. But yeah, I mean, we're fairly sure that this acquisition is the reason that QuickBooks has now launched practice management free of charge, which you guys covered in QuickBooks Labs last week, for the foreseeable future. So yeah, who knows? It's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, and I think that's more than anything for us. It was just the shock that our initial rumor mill compared to what's happened is completely different. Because when we first heard the initial rumor mill, it was like, oh, well, that's an interesting that didn't feel like the right fit from our point of view anyway. So there was red flags for us in terms of, okay, that sounds a bit strange. Obviously, it was wrong anyway, so that's why it was strange. But I think in my head, I was like, okay, so now what's next? What's next for the UK market? I think you're right. I think the play here is for the international market, isn't it? And people who've bought it, they're going to be more interested, and rightly so, in their regions that they're doing really well in, and that they can bring part to the table with. So I completely and 100% understand that this is a play for the international market. But if you were a Pixie user now in the UK market, what's going to happen to you? Because they're going to, from a development point of view, the resources are now going to be on making it ready for the international market, surely. What new features is going to come along for the UK market? Speculation here is probably minimal at this point, right? So you've got to make a decision as a Pixie user, what's right for you, Evan, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Pixie was already international. They've got a good footing in Europe as well. And I think that was part of their challenge, was trying to service all their different markets with the developments that all those markets were screaming out for, because every nation's accounting and bookkeeping software and technology advancement is in different states, and requires different levels of support and different features to help deliver what they're looking for, and that's normally driven by taxation law, etc. So obviously e-invoicing is a huge thing in Europe at the moment, whereas it's a real non-starter for us because we're more worried about MTD. Anything that will modernize the banking system in America is a major thing right now because they're still writing checks. So yeah, it's very easy to sit in the UK accounting and bookkeeping echo chamber and go, well, surely this is obvious that everybody's going to need this and need that feature and whatever. But actually, what the UK needs versus France versus Spain versus Portugal versus Germany versus US, Mexico, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, it's all completely different. And that's also why you will have noted that very few practice managements go international quickly and successfully. Carbon does really well in America, but they don't seem to have broken the UK market as well as they thought they would have. Accountancy Manager, Bright Manager, did really well in the UK and is doing well in Ireland as well, especially now they're Bright. But they've never gone global. They've never gone to America and Canada, and that's because it's a very different requirement set out there. Like we've looked at it, Engagio.app, but and we've got ideas, but executing those and getting a foothold and getting a profitable return on that, it's a huge challenge. And it's not one we're going to ignore, Engagio.app, but it's not one we're underestimating.
100%. Okay, and Clive finishes off this topic quite nicely, saying UK are spoiled, full stop, lads. He's not wrong, is he? Let's be honest. If you look at the Irish at the moment, and they're we are very blessed to have the software options that we do.
Yeah, and I think the frustration for Clive and his peers over in Ireland, and Tim Charleston and his peers in places like Guernsey and all the Channel Islands and stuff, is the UK is next door, and we have got our pick of the toys, and they are barely getting the scraps. So yeah, it's definitely one of those that we forget as users how lucky we are, but we are very lucky, and there's a lot of opportunity out there outside of the UK. As a software company, it's just working out how you tap into that, and buying a software that is functional and delivering a product and adding that to your own local knowledge of an area like Canada, Australia, gives you probably the best opportunity you can to break that market.
And speaking of knowledge, how would you get knowledge of receipt capture tools?
Well, I generally find that Apron is my one-stop shop. And if you notice, they've done a roadmap and they've done some webinars recently. And so one of the things Apron are now doing, and we've never spoken about this, Aaron, is a pitch to switch. If you're within 6 months of the end of your contract with any other receipt capture software, and you're interested in switching to Apron, Apron will now give you the rest of your contract duration up to 6 months with the other receipt capture softwares for free at Apron. So you've got all that time to move your clients over to Apron. So as everybody knows, Apron is our sponsor. We absolutely love Apron. We've done some great video content. I'm loving the videos we've put out for the trip to Apron's head office. That was a great trip. But as part of any sponsorship, we need to roll the ad roll. We need to get the bills paid, Mr. Patrick. So roll that advert.
Okay, so if you thought receipt capture was easy from Apron, check this out. Here I am, chilling at the Apron stand at Accountex, while my team needs to make me pay a bill. They've set it up on Apron for me. They've sent me an email. I just press continue to dashboard. Gets me to log in. I authorise the payment. Payment goes out my bank account. You know what's even better? If they need me to pay 10 bills, I only have to authorise it once. I make one payment. That's it. Job's a good one. I can go back to drinking coffee with the Apron guys.
Brilliant. So it was literally that simple. We were out for dinner the other day, took a picture of the receipt. It's in our product, it's our finance management software now, all ready to go. Easy, quick and easy, simple. It was there and processed and ready to go before we'd walked. I mean, we hadn't even got our coats, had we? We'd taken a photo and it was there. So yeah, fantastic bit of kit from Apron. Thank you to Apron for all of your support, as always. Right, next bit of news. There's been mainly it's a website update from our friends at Free Agent, and they have launched a new page listing all their integrations and partnerships. Now, Aaron, if I said to you like, "Oh, how many integrations or partnerships do you think were on that web page?" I mean, what you'd probably come back to me about 5 or 10. Well, you'll be surprised by how many are in there. The focus that Free Agent have put onto integrations recently is phenomenal. Now, obviously, they integrate to best-in-class apps like Client Engager or Engager.app. They've got a new integration with Xenon that's working really well. I've really enjoyed using that in my firm, and it means that all of my clients now, from Xero, QuickBooks, and Free Agent, we're doing fantastic health score reports with them. But they are connected to Bright Manager, Iris, like so many integrations now. And I think they've kind of flown under the radar. Like, we all know the Xero App Store is packed with integrations. Quite frankly, a lot of them, same with the QuickBooks App Store, are softwares that you'd probably never go near. Like, never heard of, never seen. Do they really add any value? I don't know. Are they fully functional? I don't know. I haven't got the time of day to look into it. The list at Free Agent on their new integrations website page, it's refined. Not just anyone can plug into Free Agent. You need to have discussed it with Free Agent and stuff like that. I know that they are hoping to talk with Apron and to get something with them done very soon. So the fact that when I look at the Free Agent integration page, I know all of those, and there's a lot more there than I ever realized, are actually high quality integrations that are going to do the job, add real value. It's not just a random cash flow tool that no one's ever heard of. And it turns out actually it's in South Africa and they've just plugged in because they can, and they've put it into the App Store because they can for QuickBooks or Xero, and hoping that will be enough to get some users. So Free Agent's new integrations webpage. Have you had a look at it yet, Aaron?
Yeah. So initial points for me is, number one, it's very much Sage centric, isn't it? It's very much a curated list, as you've already kind of mentioned. That's where Sage has kind of definitely gone down the route. They're only going to focus on integrations that are going to kind of add value and everything there. whereas Zero's gone for that monetization model, which, you know, we can talk about that another day. But yeah, it's not the most user friendly experience, isn't it? The end user kind of suffers ultimately for that one. And then QuickBooks, I mean, QuickBooks' biggest asset is the fact for their app store is they've got apps.com. So www.apps.com is theirs. So they are going for this mammoth of a collection and then go through from there. And as you said, that comes with plus and minuses, plus because you've got so many different options that, you know, pretty much any solution you want can get connected. But the minus is it's really difficult to find the good stuff, you know, cream rising to the top, that sort of scenario. One thing I would say about the free agent that I'm a little bit disappointed in, though, is that they don't have everyone there. And I feel that's unfair. Like, what's the reason that some apps are on that list, but then others aren't? Do you know what the reason is?
Everyone that's got an integration to free agent is on that list.
No.
Who's missing?
KPM. KPM have a free agent integration. They're best, you know, they're one of the best production software on there. You can connect it directly in, it goes directly through their API. Everything works exactly the same as TaxCalc and all the others. But for some reason, they choose TaxCalc to promote and not KPM. But
so it's not a choice.
Okay.
So having undergone this process myself for Engager.app, anyone that so free agent's got a list of everyone that's got an API linked to them. Free agent reached out to everyone to fill out a form. So you could have you were dictating your own imagery, your own content to go onto their integrations page. So if KPM haven't responded, they weren't there at launch. KPM could respond today.
KPM weren't asked, so it's just weird.
There.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, everyone that's got an API was asked to fill out the form. So we were sent the form, and I had to redo the form to get the Engager.app stuff updated.
Because of the name change.
Yeah.
With it.
So maybe it's gone to someone that's not a KPM anymore. Maybe it's an old contact information.
Maybe.
But yeah, no, anyone that's linked there, it's not, no one's been excluded. It's purely this is your kind of landing page with us. You give us the content you want. We're not going to, because there's nothing worse than having someone create a landing page for you who doesn't really know your product and the benefits of your integration. You know, like I've seen a practice management software who they do an annual report of a comparison of what's the best practice management software for you.
Yeah.
And it's so poorly researched. I mean, it's also biased because it's written by them to try and convince you that they're the right choice for you.
Yeah.
But actually, it's so poorly researched, it's actually borderline slander. So it's, do you want that from your new integrations page, or do you reach out to all of your integrations and go, guys, let us know what you do, how you do it, what do you want us to use as wording? And if they've not responded, or if it's gone to an old contact or something, like, when did KPM last reach out to them? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm in regular contact with free agent through Tony Stevens and Jem, and they're fantastic. They're very proactive. So I would imagine it's, you know, as I always say with our account managers for any software company, it's a two-way relationship. You can't just expect QuickBooks or Xero or anyone else for that matter to think of you every time they do a product launch and go, have you seen this? You need to have that proactive working relationship with them going, hi, how are things? This is an update on where we are with our firm. What's new coming up in QuickBooks? What's new coming up in Xero? Or actually, we've got this coming up that might, you know, it sounds like you might benefit from that because you've just given me a better up-to-date picture of what you're up to at the moment. So same with integrations. It's a two-way working relationship. We have very productively sent a list of things we'd love to see from the free agent API in the coming future. And within a week or two, they came back to us having done their research and said, right, this can be delivered in the short term. This is a medium term, long. This is a long term one. Can we discuss this bit a bit more because we aren't sure where we see the value in it, type thing. So yeah, no, I haven't worked with a free agent from Engager.app side of things. I would say it's probably a breakdown in relationship there, and people need to remember it's a two-way relationship. And yeah, they need to be responding to forms and emails if that's what the choice that free agents made. To, you want to be listed in our app store, then you need to fill out this information so we can list it properly.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I've reached out to both KPM side. And yeah, that's how the way it is. I wonder when they're going to bring it into the product though as well, because I think that's the next step, isn't it? That's always where you and Xero do this pretty well. They have their little top button where you can kind of see what you've got connected, and QuickBooks have obviously got their app page directly there as well on the left hand side. I think that's the next step, isn't it? That integration bit in product, because that's what drives people to go, oh, going through from there. So I imagine it's on its way, but it'll be interesting when that approaches.
Yeah, so I can't say too much because I am under an NDA for that, because it was being discussed at Free Agents head office when I visited a few weeks ago. But all I will say is watch this space.
Exciting. Yeah, looking forward to it. I think, yeah, the more eyes people can have on those integrations is better for everyone, isn't it? Go forward. Awesome. Cool. What's next topic?
Okay, so next topic, Accounting Excellence Awards. The nominations are closed. The judging is starting to happen. Judging should all be happening this month, I believe, from what I was looking at in the deadlines. But it's not too late to start booking your tickets, or too early to start booking your tickets for the event. So you do not have to be a nominee or a finalist to attend this event of the awards evening. I've been to this event a couple of times now through different reasons. Like I've attended with QuickBooks team, I've attended with the Employment Hero team, and even though I wasn't nominated for anything and shortlisted for anything, I went and the insights I got were phenomenal. So I was able to go away and go, oh, I want to reach out to that person and just pick their mind, see if they'll be open to a coffee at some point and discuss how they've achieved this, because they might have rolled something out, they might have done a new level of service or something, and it's of interest. And you know what? Most of them are really proud and about what they've achieved, and they're really, really happy to share their insights. And you get an insight of that at a deeper level by attending this event. Now, I believe our friends at Accounting Excellence Awards have actually sent you a video, which we can play.
And more than that, they sent us the content, and Lizzie, producer Lizzie, has created us a nice little video. So let's roll it and see what's in store for you to go and why you should go and get your tickets.
Okay, we're back. So thank you, Lizzie, for putting that together using the content that Accounting Excellence sent over. I think you can all see that it's just a great event, and you go, you learn from your peers, and you network with your peers. And there's loads of software vendors there as well. So it's a great opportunity to, again, reaffirm that working relationship with your software vendor, keep building on it, keep your name at the top of their minds, and going from there. Right. So final topic for today. Aaron, you've been a bit coy about this. You've been holding it back. You've told me not to look into it, and I've been very good. I've not looked into it. I've not researched it. You have told me Apple Pay is getting an upgrade, like almost an Apple Pay 2.0, you said earlier. So Aaron doesn't want me to have looked into this and heard anything about it. He wants to get my initial natural reaction. So yeah, let's over to you, Aaron. Tell me about Apple Pay 2.0, or whatever they're going to call it.
So they're calling it Next Gen Apple Pay. And the idea here is that not only do you get to pay for stuff using Apple Pay, so I'm sure everyone knows, but just in case you don't realize, the idea is that, especially when you're out and about, get your phone, get your watch, double tap it, and very much like contactless, you get the opportunity to make payments there and then. What if I told you that the new Apple Pay is going to get multiple benefits with that single app, which includes the idea of loyalty card benefits automatically tracking. We like that. But the one that really gets me excited is automatic receipts directly through the tap. So you tap, the receipt goes directly into your phone. Imagine someone like Apron grab that as well. You're off to the races, right? So yeah, no, I'm really excited for this. They haven't really shown any kind of detail as to what it is, other than you'll get a detailed purchase receipt transferred directly to your Apple Wallet. You'll get your credit start loyalty programs directly updated in your wallet. So the idea there is if you go to Starbucks, for example, and buy 5 drinks, on that 5th one, you don't have to show both apps or anything like you do now. They'll automatically do, and automatically apply any discounts or coupons you may have automatically. So it's about making it not just one way but 2-way street with this NFC technology. They say there's the pucks and everything will have to be updated. So there's a whole new NFC solution coming through. It won't just be Apple Pay, it'll be the rest of them. Will jump on this as soon as possible. But there's a whole NFC forum and NFC standard that's been developed with this in mind. Don't you think that's one of the most exciting updates we can have to the way we made payments for a long time, right?
It sounds great. My concern is that US only? Is it UK wide?
Worldwide.
Okay.
So the NFC, because if you think about it as well, the UK was actually ahead of the US in terms of tap pay.
Yeah.
So we've always had that kind of thing. Now this is going to be, you know, your different vendors are going to have to adopt this. They're going to have to update their Excel systems. There's going to have to be an element there. So there's that. I mean, there are some people saying that some of the more newer ones will just be able to have a firmware update and off they go.
I was going to say, is this going to be a firmware update, hardware as well?
It all depends on how old the point of sale solution is, but some ones will just be a firmware off to the races. Some will have to have a whole new upgrade. But as an end user, you know, the opportunity to just have that tap to pay, your receipt's already in your wallet. As you think about the power for your clients for this, like,
okay, so
that could be amazing.
It could be, but it's not Apple's. It's out of Apple's control to make this amazing. So take this weekend, for example, right? I mean, I've just been going through all of my transactions and that I've spent at Silverstone. Christ, tap to pay is dangerous, especially considering there's no spend cap on it. You can just go out, like, you know, I mean, I tapped to pay a few months ago for my new MacBook. Like, should you be able to tap to pay for a £3,000 device? I don't know. You know, like, it's so much more convenient now. I do love it. And I do love the fact that I can just tap and go on the trains, the buses, etc. That's incredible. But then look at this weekend, the Silverstone tickets, you couldn't put them in Apple Wallet. So actually, we were still having to open our phone, get the ticket up, go into the app and get the ticket and show it. Seatfrog. Absolutely love Seatfrog. However, it doesn't let you put the tickets into your Apple Wallet. You have to open the Seatfrog app. So actually, this is only going to be incredible when everyone gets on board and does it. And not everyone's even got Apple Pay or Apple Wallet enabled yet, never mind the advanced level that this is going to take.
Yeah, so the reason for Apple Wallet not being ready for things like F1 and things like that is because they haven't enabled the authentication element yet.
Right.
You know, on the F1 app, if you saw it, it was like swirling around, it was doing all that sort of stuff. That's apparently coming. That's part of like the next thing for Apple Wallet, and Google Wallet and all that will join on as well. But you're right, at the moment, you need more people to be or see the benefit, right?
Yeah. But
it only takes on this occasion like your big players to get involved. Your Squares, your SumUps, your Zettles, your Dojos. If they can get involved and they can roll that out, then that's done then, right? Like, that's going to be a big proportion of the people.
A big chunk of it.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. And it's the same with anything. Like, I think at first, maybe people thought that tap to pay was a bit of a gimmick. And why bother? Like, you just get your card out, it's done. But now, especially with your watch, I mean,
this is my headache, right? Everything I did this weekend, I tapped to pay. And as soon as I just naturally, my natural behavior is I go into my pocket and get my phone out. Yeah. Actually, I've yet to build the psychological behavior internally to go, buff. That's my Apple Pay. It's on my watch.
But when you have done, like, that's the game changer, right? Because it's on your wrist, it's there, it's done. And yeah, there's the danger of it in terms of overspending and everything else, but just the convenience, right? And if that one notion of me going to make a payment and then I've already got the receipt there as well, it will save time in the queue. I mean, I very rarely, lose receipts, but I lost a receipt the other day, and it was frustration because then that's it, and that's game over. I'm not going to go back to that vendor to find it, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have that worry. And for accountants, if we were able to harness that thing, we were able to extract those receipts. That's powerful, right?
It is, but I think, is it also another level of frustration coming our client's way and our way? So, for example, if not everyone's going to be able to do this, your clients are going, oh, for God's sake, I've got to go and find that receipt. Well, I didn't get that receipt. I just assumed it would be on Apple Pay. So there could be a headache there. It's like this weekend at Silverstone. They don't accept Amex. Like, every single time I went up to some of the vendors, it's like, tap, go, oh, you don't take Amex cards, right? Hang on, I need to find the non-Amex card and pay with that. And I'm just like, this, it's been there for so long that it's now frustrating me as a user. And if you're not, have you got the time or the mind space to go, do I need to, when the lady says, oh, do you want your receipt? Does it go into Apple Pay? Will the person at the till know? We don't know. Like,
I mean, that's a UI thing, isn't it? Like,
they
like they have a tap to pay now. They're going to have to make it so it's very obvious it's gone through.
Yeah.
And the idea is it's automatic. Though you'll get the notification saying you've paid and here's your receipt. Like, you don't even need to worry. You don't even ask for them, right? Like, what we want is a society where we don't even need to even think about asking for receipts.
No, I completely agree. It's the end goal.
Yeah.
I think this is going to cause more headaches and more frustration in the short term and it will solve it in the long term. But we're going to have to go through some growing pains here to get this
early adopter pain, right? We know it. We've been there, don't we? I mean, you've
constantly,
probably regrettably to a point, but you've jumped on the bandwagon of iOS 18, right? And you've gone straight in there as a developer, and you've had those headaches, right? And you've had to fight those headaches. And early adopt headache is something that I think we almost have, like you and me especially, have almost a badge of honor sometimes. It's like, look, we're going to have these pain points so that later down the line people don't have to have it, and that's the point of it, isn't it?
Yeah. And like, yes, this is a pain point, but actually all these benefits are here, so it's okay. Speaking of iOS, new beta 3 coming out tonight. Do we see some Apple Intelligence in there? We don't know. What I'm really hoping for is the new Mail app, because that's not out yet on the betas, and they're going to public beta today. So I would hope the developers will now get the Mail app. That'd be good.
That'd be wicked. That'd be wicked.
Yeah.
Right, we are at time.
We are at time.
Kirsty says, finally, the Google Fitbit was a bit slow. Odd as they own it. Wouldn't link to certain cards, but does for Revolut. That's a real shame. I hope they do, like, because that's the beauty. And again, biased here from the Apple fanboy in the room, but the reason that Apple just nails it is because it's all one big ecosystem and it all just works. Every device I pick up, I've had minimally for this trip. Yeah, I've still got 6 devices that have Apple Pay on them. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. So
this is the problem: is Android Pay. Well, Android in China, right? You've got Android Pay. You've got Samsung Pay. Like, which ones do you use? Well, actually, Samsung Pay is probably less accepted than Android Pay, and all the feedback I hear about Android Pay is it's actually a bit slow and sluggish, and you don't ding, has it gone through? Wait in. No, it didn't read that. And oh, hang on, where's my NFC reader? Because it's actually right down at the bottom of the back, which makes no sense. Whereas on Apple devices, it just seems to be logically placed.
Yeah. Or we just watched the WWDC, so we knew, oh, that's how you do it. You know what I mean? But the people are having it on their watches and stuff. On their rings and stuff now, aren't they? So
there's some new health rings coming out with NFC tags in them, so you can pay on your ring, which is quite cool.
I think that's what it is. So cool. Yeah. So
okay,
anything else you want to discuss before we go?
No, I mean, what's in the week ahead for you?
going off to the Killers today, so that'll be exciting. Going off down to London to the O2, so looking forward to that one. And then I've got a week of and then Thursday off to see Busted in Leeds and with Scout for Girls. And then we'll talk about it on Friday. But maybe the future accountancy is coming to my house, so we'll see. We'll leave it as that as a bit of a teaser. But we'll maybe the future accountancy. So keep an eye on socials for that one. What about you, Jan? But other than recovering
this week, back to work. Got Andy Tyrrell, our new customer support at Client Engager or Engager.app. I need to get used to that. Is starting today, so induction training supporting him, and then Saturday I am jetting off to Mauritius for 2 weeks of R&R.
Of course, I completely forgot about that.
I'll be there. Don't worry, guys. I'll be there on Monday.
We'll see.
With my cocktail. Not an issue.
Otherwise, it might be a solo show next week.
It'll be fine.
As he's slurring his words.
I'll control myself. You're only so many hours ahead of me. It's fine.
It'll be good fun. Well, enjoy the holiday while you're there. And
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone who's commented on Ask the Accountant throughout this week's episode. It's been absolutely brilliant. Any final thoughts from yourself, Jan?
No, just as always, a huge thank you to our sponsors from Apron. And yeah, we will see you all next week. Thank you very much.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.